Well, hey there, guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're making a Tic Tac Toe board. Well, I know that we have made a Tic Tac Toe board here on the show before, and in fact, it was with marbles and it held the marbles inside, but this one's a little different. And actually, I saw this one at the campsite where we go every year, and they have it there for their patrons of the campsite to play on a rainy day. You could borrow it and take it to your campsite and play with it, just return it, what have you. And my granddaughter loved the thing. So I thought, you know what? What a great idea to bring to the show. So that's what we're going to do today. And it all starts, I'm going to do this one a little differently. It all starts with a little bit of computer work and a little bit of laser work. Well, it all starts off on the internet. And guys, I have shown you this site before as far as making boxes go. This site is amazing. And if you have a laser engraver, this is the site for you. You need to add it to your favorites. I'm going to post the link to it down below in the video's description. But basically, you choose the type of box that you want. You plug in your values and your parameters as far as what you want for inside, outside dimensions, etc., etc. And this thing generates a box based on your thickness of material and the sizes that you input, and it pumps out an SVG. And all you need to do from that point in time is drag that SVG into a program, say like Lightburn or XCS, Xtools Creative Space, or whatever program you are using for your laser engraving, and you can very easily cut this. So that's what I'm going to do. I have made a 9-section box here, which will represent the Tic Tac Toe board for us. And we are going to cut this thing out of 1/8 inch thick plywood. And once all your pieces are cut with the engraver, you end up with something like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a dry fit of this and see how it goes together. And after your dry fit is done, this is what you're looking at. And look how amazing that is. And honestly, even these side details here with the finger joints and everything with the burn edges of the laser engraver, this looks amazing. I absolutely love the way this looks. So I'm going to glue this together, and now we need to make our game pieces. Well, while I'm waiting for the box to dry, I'm here in Lightburn, and I have put a very simple XO here on the screen. I have chosen the font that I want. In this case, it's just chalkboard because I want simple shapes, and these shapes here with this font are very rounded, which makes this perfect for young ones to handle. So what I want to do before I do anything, I want to, just out of some thin material, some of that 1/8 inch thick material, I want to actually cut these. I want to cut them out in the laser engraver just as a test, because I want to see if they're going to fit in the squares and how much bigger or smaller I want them to be. I do not want to cut out the final pieces on the laser. We're going to get to that after. But for now, let's fire up the laser and get these 1X and 1O cut out. Okay, and if we check on the size of these, the X fits in there nicely, as does the O. Okay, I'm happy with that. So guys, we now need some walnut and some cherry. Enough of walnut or cherry to make 5 X's and 4 O's. But instead of doing a pattern, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to engrave these X's and O's onto our stock as the pattern. Okay, and there we have our pattern engraved on our walnut, and of course our O's engraved on our cherry. So what we're going to do, just FYI, initially I had them like this, but I felt that the cross grain on all of these little kind of members here was a little too fragile, so I switched the letter's orientation. Either way, guys, what we're going to do is I'm going to drill some blade entry holes here in these 4 O's. We're going to take them over to the scroll saw and we're going to cut them out. As well, we're going to cut these ones here. But I think what I'm going to do is do one of these in real time just to give you some advice on these center corners and getting around these curves. Well, I have all of my O's cut, guys. Pretty simple process. Just remember to take your time on the curves and get a nice smooth transition all the way around. We're going to sand those up a little bit later, but I really want to concentrate on these X's because there are some techniques for beginners that may not be blatantly obvious when you're first starting to scroll. Now, you may notice that I have on the inside corners of each one of these X's, I've drilled, in this case, it's a 1/4 inch diameter hole. The size doesn't matter. It's all about getting the blade through that hole. And it's not so that you can do an interior cut. For beginners, turning the blade in 3/4 inch thick stock, it can be a very cumbersome thing and very difficult to do. So these 1/4 inch holes give you somewhere to park or to turn the blade around. So what you want to do is you want to install, in my case, I'm using a number 7 PGT reverse tooth blade. PGT is precision ground tooth. And we're going to place our blade down through. Guys, blades are consumables. Don't be afraid to use them up because I'm going to tell you, cutting 3/4 inch walnut and getting good results, you're going to use a few of these blades. So now you'll notice I don't have a hold down foot here. That's because that's my preference of how to work. But if you are a beginner, get your hold down foot on there and it's going to help you with your control because you can concentrate on control and not have to worry so much about holding down your stock. Now guys, here's another thing that a lot of scrollers neglect, and that would be a face mask. Get yourself a dust mask on. In this case, I'm using a BC mask or a base camp mask. These are fantastic. There's a link to the product for this down below. I also have a show about these if you're interested. But what we want to do first is we're going to cut using our number 7 blade right along our line and stop it right in here at this corner. All right, and with that done, what you want to do now is back out and park the blade in this 1/4 inch hole. And now we have the freedom to move this. Now there's 2 ways you can go about this. You can reverse your whole piece and back your blade into the saw curve. Do it with your saw running because that will give you a lot more ease of spinning it in there. And once you get it in there, now your teeth are facing along the point. You can use the side or the kerf of your blade to carry on with that cut, just like this. You'll see that I'm kind of filing along the edge of that very sharp point to get a nice smooth transition. Okay, so that is the one method of being able to turn your blade using one of these parking holes, I'm going to call them. The other thing you can do is to get this corner cut out. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring our blade back over here into the parking lot. And then we can rotate our piece and we're going to saw or cut across here and then join up with this line and meet in the corner. What you have done is you have created a very nice, clean, crisp corner right in here. And that is going to go a long way to having your project look a lot more professional. So now to complete this cut or to carry on with it, you're going to use, once again, the edge of your blade where the kerf is, and you're going to want to slowly kind of whittle away at it to work off that sharp corner here where you curved in, and then we can get it to follow along the line. Now I'm just going to stop it right there for a second because we now have this curve, and this curve is basically a circle. This isn't an oval. It is a nice, perfectly round curve. The secret to the curves, and I've told you guys this before, and it takes practice. It's not a natural thing to do, but your feed rate as you push your stock into your blade, your feed rate has to match your turn rate. And as long as you get those two to match, you'll get a nice even circle. And it does take practice. So let's get this one curve cut, and we'll go all the way around, and I'll stop right in here at this corner. I know it's hard to see, but right in at this next corner. Guys, this is going to be real-time scrolling just to show you how slow this process really is. You don't need to rush. So let's get this done. I'll put the time signature below. If you guys want to skip ahead, that's fine too. I mean, not everybody wants to see a real-time scrolling. And we've just stopped there in the corner and then backed out of the cut. The reason we backed out of the cut is we're going to come over here into our parking area again. Just like that. And now from that parking area, we can rotate our stock as we wish and curve it and get along this line and complete this interior corner. I'm having a little bit of problem with this longer piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut off two of these X's first because the end of the stock over here is hitting my big belly. So just give me a second here. Okay, so that's a little better. We have a little easier to work with here. Guys, another thing you may have noticed earlier is I had forgotten to remove my wedding band. That happens sometimes here in the shop for me, but the second I noticed it, I remove it. Guys, please do not wear jewelry in the shop. Do not wear rings on your fingers. It's a recipe for disaster. So there you go. There's my public service announcement for the day. So from our parking area, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come in here and we're going to cut along this line and stop it right in that corner to get that crisp corner again. Okay, so we didn't quite match up. So this piece did not pop out, but that's okay. We've got this parking area here. We're going to back in and come along and get it from the other side. Just watch this. Just like that. Guys, it's not a difficult process, but there are techniques that you can use, and these parking holes are one of them. So again, we're going to use the kerf or the side of our blade to file away at the edge to get a nice transition. We'll follow all around the curve here, making sure to keep our feed rate the same as our turn rate, and we'll stop at the inside curve. Again, this is a real-time scrolling, so guys, I'll put the time signature down below if you want to fast forward. And now, just like we've done before, we're going to drive our blade over here into the parking area and come back around to join up with a crisp corner. Now, some of you may be wondering, why bother with that corner, with that hole, that parking hole at all? Why not just come around with a wide sweeping turn in the waist area and come back into the line? And you can absolutely do that. It just makes it so much easier for beginners to spin it into an area here where there's plenty of room to work. One thing I'll suggest though, guys, if you're new to this, you can spin it with the power off so that you don't catch your blade. But if you want to be one of these guys that spins with the power on, that's 100% fine. Just have the back of the blade with no teeth riding against the edge of the hole, and then you can spin it however you wish without fear or worry of the blade digging in. Okay, so once again, filing on the side to get a good transition, and we'll go right around to the curve to the next corner. And then again into the parking lot, and then finish the corner off by coming around to meet it. And just an example of the parking area, guys, you can spin it as fast as you want. Okay, and now with that, we're going to carry on around all the way and finish this off. Now, if you wanted to do this a little easier, where you didn't have to deal with two transitions, you could have switched your blade over to this hole after you stopped in the corner and come all the way around and finish off in the corner with that nice crisp corner right away. For me, I actually prefer to saw counterclockwise. I don't know why, it's just what I prefer to do. I can do both, but I prefer counterclockwise. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to join up over here. If there's a little bit of a discrepancy or an odd spot, we can either sand it or use the edge of our number 7 blade here to file it off. Well, in looking at that with some careful alignment, I was able to cut that in place without needing to file it off there. Got a little bit of a rough edge. I may still work at it, but there you go. There is the X cut, or one of them, and the methods that I'm going to use to cut them. So I'm going to cut the other 4. We don't need any more videos of this aspect of it. One thing that you want to keep in mind, guys, even though you feel around these corners that you're getting a constant feed rate and you're getting an equal rotation rate, different grains act differently. So if you're running along this curve and you're coming in, you're going with the grain, it's going to cut differently than when you come around the corner here and now you're cutting cross grain. So you need to adjust your feed and your rotation as you go, and that's where the practice comes in. So let's get the other 4 of these X's cut, and we can move on from there. I'll see you over at the bench when that's done. But with all the pieces cut, we now want to give them a sanding. So nothing better than a piece of sandpaper glued onto a 3/4 inch thick piece of MDF. So we're just going to give the surface a good sanding. And once we get that surface sanded, we need to take a fresh piece of sandpaper and we're going to go all around the sharp edges, breaking those corners. Remember that young ones will be playing with this, so we don't want any of those sharp corners to possibly injure them. And once you get your sanding done, and we've already done our board previously, you have yourself a really cool Tic Tac Toe Board. Guys, this is a spectacular project, a great way to pass some time, and of course, a great way to entertain the kids, especially on a rainy day at a campsite. So all that's really left to do here is to apply the finish of choice if you want. For these X's and O's, I'm going to go simple on that one. I'm just going to apply Danish oil. I think I'm going to leave the case itself bare. Once I'm actually doing some HVLP spraying a little later, I may give that a coat of water-based varnish just to seal it and to keep it looking good. But that is it, guys. A great project. A great way to hone your scroll saw skills, and you know what? Just an all-around fun project. And there you have it, a scroll saw tic-tac-toe game. Guys, this project is a great way to hone your scrolling skills. And while it's a combination, or at least it was for me, between the scroll saw and the laser engraver, it doesn't have to be. That website that I showed you that does all of the boxes and all the layouts, that allows you to export that and then download it, and then you can print it. That can then be your pattern. And there is absolutely no reason why you cannot cut that pattern out on the scroll saw. Will it be 100% perfect like the laser and everything fit just so? Probably not. Depending on your skill levels, it's difficult to get that kind of level of accuracy. But it is still a viable box, and you can still make it on the scroll saw. You don't need a laser engraver to make this project. Now, using the laser engraver to put the pattern onto the walnut and the cherry for the X's and O's, truth be told, that is the first time I've ever done it, and it worked out great. There was no messing around with masking tape or spray adhesive or waiting for it to tack up or rubbing the pattern down or peeling it off. There was none of that. It was engrave the pattern right onto the wood and just cut it. It was spectacular. I've never done that before, but I will be doing that again in the future because it worked really, really well. But again, if you don't have a laser engraver, you can just print out the pattern and do it the traditional way with some spray adhesive. Heck, you can even turn around and make a template of the X and the O and just draw them out on your wood. That works as well. Whatever works for you is the method that you should use. The main thing is that you do it and that you make this project. Because guys, this is a project that you can present to the young ones and get them away from those darned electronics. Get them off of their electronic devices and show them that there is a better way, or a different way, we'll say, to pass the time and have some fun and use your mind without having to just use your thumbs and your eyes. So why not make one of these and, you know what, tuck it away for maybe a Christmas gift or a birthday gift? I'm sure they'll love it. And guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week. I want to give a big shout out to Skycroft Campground out in Kingston, Ontario. I have a lot of fun every time I go out there. My wife and I and my family have been going out there for years. And if it wasn't for them, of course, I wouldn't have seen this tic-tac-toe thing and wouldn't have gotten the idea to bring it here to the show and make my own version of the project. So a big shout out to Skycroft Campground, and thanks for having that out there for all your campers' enjoyment. Guys, if you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. We have an amazing audience base, and I'm hoping that you're going to consider becoming a part of it. I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week. I hope you've enjoyed the project. I hope you're going to give this one a try, but more importantly, I hope you're going to join me again next week when I bring you yet another woodworking video.